Hey Collective, one cycle is ended and another is beginning. We've got the new moon in Leo and moon magic transformation. And I think the new moon in Leo was in July? Would have been the last one of those. Hey kitten, welcome to the party. Meow. uh, but I think that new moon was back in July, so think back to that time, what you might have been doing around then, anything you're trying, were, are potentially still trying to change in your life. And these do feel auspicious to me, even though the energy feels really heavy right now. Because right as I was getting ready to start recording, the song I got in my head was Someone's Daughter by Ginger. And that's a pretty heavy song. Those lyrics definitely had me in my feels when that song first came out. But let's dig into it a little bit, see what this transformation is about. And then the little subtext here for the new moon in Leo is confidence is your key to success, which is very, very Leo. And I don't think we've actually done an oracle reading on the channel so far, just using oracle cards. Hey kitten. But I thought that would be fun to mix it up a little bit. So let's see. We've got a couple of moonology decks out here. Hi kitten. What do you have to say? Did I want more chicken? I'm sure it is. Let's get the first card here. What is this transformation that we need confidence for about? I'm just going to cut the deck. Meditate and contemplate, new moon in Pisces. But I was going to say mediate. That is the word my brain saw when that first came out. And I mean, that new moon in Pisces, that'll be around February and March, so maybe that's some timing on some sort of long-term change. And it doesn't, of course, doesn't necessarily have to be those specific moon cycles or when we were at that point in the wheel. It just could be something that's taking, what is that, 8-9 months to complete ish. Kitten, you're very sharp. Thank you for that. She's just pawing at my leg. But some sort of long-term change, and maybe this liminal space that we're in is really to solidify, is this type of change I really want to see in my life? Maybe reflecting on changes of the past that either didn't go the way you wanted them to, or were rocky, or went well, even. Just kind of a reflective period. And this transformation card, I mean, this is giving Hekate with the 2 dogs and the triple moon. Those look like Great Danes. Yes, kitten. I don't think you'd like a Great Dane, actually. And she's the goddess of the liminal space. And the interesting thing about her is she didn't start as an Olympian. Zeus took favor in her. And I think it was because of, like, stubbornness and tenacity and skill with magic and herbalism. But she began as a Titan and then became an Olympian. So, I don't know. It kind of depends on what your context is for this change. You know, I mean, 9 months, that could be a brand new baby. That's a massive change that you will have to be an Olympian for. But take a risk. Moonflower is what we got here. So a change that was a gamble. That doesn't necessarily feel like a pregnancy to me, like taking a gamble, but, you know, people struggle with fertility issues and whatnot. But this feels more like you had to have some cojones to move forward with whatever this was. And, I mean, that's very Hecate. That she didn't, if I recall correctly, she did not become an Olympian by being liked, by, like, concerning herself with how she would be perceived. She knew what her craft was, and she just marched forward. So let's get a little more detail on up here, the higher level, like the 10,000 foot overview of this change. That's 3. So we have restlessness, Mercury in Aries. That's some very flighty energy. Caution, Mercury in Virgo, and another Mercury card. Okay, Mercury in Scorpio, extremism. So a lot to do with communication. This could be with the way that you communicate. Maybe you took some sort of like interpersonal communication course, something like that, to be able to navigate, you know, conflict resolution and so on and so forth. But it feels like something in that communication energy has emboldened you. And this meditate and contemplate, I would say on like the outside perspective, maybe this was really shocking for whomever else was involved, this change in you and your communication style potentially. So on the outside it might seem impulsive, that Leo energy, but the truth of it is the 12th house. It's very deeply contemplative. But caution is in reverse. Maybe you threw caution to the wind. And that's what this risk was. Like, it was a risky risk. I don't know. And Aries, that's combative energy. And Scorpio, that's like if the ocean was on fire. This is some heated something or other going on. But let's get more detail on this take a risk. Whoop. Those came out. That felt so Midwest, like when you're trying to get past somebody in the aisle, like, oh, excuse me. But these two came out sideways, so some emotions hanging in the balance or in process of transmuting, transforming. We've got empathy, moon in Pisces, and order, moon in Virgo. Opposite signs. So that's a lot of push-pull energy from both sides of the wheel. And maybe hidden too, because it's in the moon. So very subconscious. Maybe your changes that you've been going through were so drastic They might even seem subconscious to you. Not necessarily that you're in the throes of these, but it might just feel so natural that you didn't really notice it. You just kind of went with the flow. And then one day you wake up, you're like, oh, I've made massive amounts of progress. And status, we have Jupiter in Taurus. Very abundant energy. And I mean, got the crown. The griffins? Kind of look like griffins. And the male and female here, the figures, I mean, I guess kind of hard to tell the one in the background, but regardless, both people in here are giving me it's a Carl Jung word, and the word is harder than the definition. It's like when yin becomes yang, you're still like both sides of the coin. And when the coin flips, it's still the same coin, it's just the other side of it. But when that happens with individuation, it's kind of like what I was talking about, that from the other side of the table, like this change and whatnot might seem really sudden to them, but you've been just embroiled in this development, and I don't know, maybe they just didn't notice how much you've grown, weren't paying attention to big changes. I don't know. Tell me more of this dynamic over here on the left. What is this about? Okay. Look at the bigger picture. Full moon in Sagittarius. And Sag season will be coming up before all too long here. December? November, December? All right. So as the dynamic, seeing the importance of this communication, whatever it is, like through the eyes of the highest good of all, taking it out of that microscope to the macroscope of like what are the implications of both my actions and my inactions in this situation. And I think from the sirens outside, that seems like an important question. Because one of the things I like to ask myself is, what am I doing and why am I doing it? That's been a big point of reflection, you know, as I've gone through this 5 years? Yeah, about 5-year long dark night of the soul. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Just like, oh, let it end. Oh my god. But there have been so many things that I used to admire, I used to put up on a pedestal, I used to want, that now I'm like, why do I want this? Like this whole traditional American dream of having a house with incredibly expensive repairs and basically signing a legal contract with somebody else that tie our assets together, unless you go through the, like, prenup rigmarole. But, like, that's such a significant contract that people enter into with very little consideration of the implications in your life. And, like, well, what about if me, myself, and I do something successful later, and I still have this, marital tie, maybe even separated but not divorced, and you do something successful? Like, what are the implications for your creation in that scenario? As you can tell, I'm very romantic. We've got blood moon, courage, and the Aries full moon on Monday might be a blood moon, actually. Let's see. Double check. Come on. Full moon Monday. Hunter's moon, harvest moon. Maybe it's not. Let me see when the next one is. Next. Blood moon. So metal. Oh, in March. Very beginning of March. So Pisces season. Eclipse season. So we just had the lunar and solar eclipses in Pisces and Virgo. And then the next round will be, I guess, in March. So maybe around that time, or whenever the, like, total, what do we say, like, 9-month time span, maybe there will be courage asked of you. And looking at how your actions could have, like, larger effects, it could be scary. But it could also inspire courage if you are maybe doing something in the realm of social justice. I mean, you would need courage for a baby too. And it doesn't even need to be that big on the exterior. It could just be something that you're changing, working on about yourself, that maybe you need some courage with, some sort of internal struggle or battle. Finding your voice, all that Mercury energy. If you haven't had one for a really long time, and then you get the opportunity to speak, I'm going to take that as a confirmation, but you take the opportunity to speak, tell the truth even if your voice shakes. I think that will really embolden you, empower you in whatever endeavor you're undertaking. That the truth, your truth, etc., needs to be said, and if you don't say it, we won't hear it. The only person that's going to tell us your truth is you. We've got influence, Mercury in Libra, so yeah, truth. The Adam and Eve here, and then Sun in Gemini, that's more Mercury energy, actually, because of Gemini. Versatility. I guess they're covered. well enough. But truth in speech, and this is bringing to mind the Lilith myth. Her speaking her truth and the implications of that being booted from the Garden of Eden. But, like, consider the choices, that she was choosing between. It was either stay, and depending on what version of the myth, it varies anywhere from just having an unhappy bedroom life with her husband, or to be continually assaulted by her husband, which I think is probably more accurate. And remaining in those situations that are abusive, are oppressive, coercive, what have you, that's not a choice. That's very oftentimes an inability to leave. And that's something I experienced going through a DV situation. I didn't have enough to leave, and it put me in danger. And so the choice that Lilith made, which really, she was in between a rock and a hard place over lava, so she's choosing to escape by any means necessary. She spoke God's true name, and the consequence of that was her being exiled, well, demonized, literally. She became the mother of demons, and then exiled into the wilderness. But even though she was exiled, she not only found herself, she met Samael. She met her counterpart. And I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that, that's going to be the outcome or whatnot, but you can look at that as an aspect of self, an aspect of wholeness. So if we're still talking about, individuation, like in this card, then that could be working through the shadow material of like the animus or the anima, and finding that wholeness of self that might restore your voice even. Let's get another one of these over here on the right. I kind of want to know more about the situation itself. I'm taking this one that turned. Don't let your past hold you back. South Node, which is in Virgo right now. And then we got the Pisces and Virgo card. So this is about moving towards your path. What brings you happiness? What makes you feel authentic, feel like yourself? And that's a big deal. That does take a lot of courage. Especially if you've been in any sort of oppressive situation. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship. That could be work. That could be familial. Just as an example, I spent 20 years back in the broom closet, and I don't think that was time not well spent. I think I learned a lot and gained a real appreciation for the value of skepticism and critical thought. And I'm still allowed to pursue my path as it suits me. It doesn't need to be this like mutually exclusive thing the way it was presented to me in upbringing. Like, you have science and you have spirituality and whatnot. And, you know, there's situations where each need to stay in their lane. But, I mean, who cares if, I don't know, I'm checking my horoscope and waiting for a COVID shot? You know, whatever. Some people get real uptight about you living your life according to their idea of life. It's a bummer. And what is this? The Motionless in White song, Disguise. I will not become a figure of my mistakes. That's definitely what that card is giving. It's a cool music video. But this could also be speaking to, you don't have to be completely healed to move forward. And, I mean, if people are going to give you a hard time about having a past, they're just telling on themselves. Of, like, don't hang out with me. Don't extend any trust in my direction, because I will judge you and I'll be, you know, POS about it. The moon's reflection. Accept responsibility. Yeah. And that doesn't mean like wallowing in your mistakes, in your mishaps forever. You're allowed to move forward. You can't change the past. Past hurts. Lion King. But sometimes accepting responsibility is that, yes, that happened. No, I can't change it. And keeping that in mind going forward. You can't necessarily do anything about what happened back there, you know. Protection. Moon in Aries. Protection from what? A tiger? There's a tiger on the card. And there are some kids, so like if you're not looking to family plan, maybe you need some protection. Affair. What? What turn did we take here? Protection. I mean, you know, I've heard the phrase, like, what is it? Once a cheater, always a cheater. And if someone wants to change, they really gotta put concerted effort in themselves. They have to be the one that takes initiative for changing their life and whatnot. But, I mean, looking back on my history when I had no vocabulary for trauma, for what that meant in my behavior. And yeah, I ghosted some people. And it's not cool. That's not something that I'm proud of. I understand now what, like, fearful avoidant attachment styles are. But at that time, I had no ability to articulate even to myself like what I was feeling. And you can't work on a problem that you don't know like why it's happening, like getting down to the root. And I would just encourage you, you know, as you work through things on your path, because not everything is going to be pretty. Not everything is something you're going to be proud of. Just be kind to yourself. You know, you don't need to shame yourself into oblivion about what's done, what's happened. But knowing that you have a problem or you have a behavioral pattern that you don't understand and then not doing anything about it, that's different. Then you're not taking responsibility. You're not taking accountability. It's not good enough to just be like, I'm owning it. Yeah. Do something about it. And we've got Harmony, Sun in Libra. Oh, he's covered. Interesting. A lot of Moon and Sun cards. So a lot of the both sides of the coin. Because, people talk about the healing journey and whatnot. There's a lot of focus on the good parts. On the stuff that makes it onto posters and inspirational stories are 30 seconds long and, never hear about that person ever again. But there's so much to learn about yourself in the darkness, through the darkness. The Bane. He was molded by it, born in it. I can't do the Bane voice. I can't even do a bad impression of the Bane voice. And if there's people in your life, past, present, future, whatever, that are giving you a hard time about having it passed, especially if there's no recognition for the work you've done, or even any curiosity for the work you've done, if you're open to sharing that, why are you spending time with these people? That's another hard question I had to ask myself throughout this dark night of the soul, is like, why am I hanging around these people? Is it just because we went to school together, we work together? Because it's okay to grow apart. I don't know if we hold on to things past their expiry, because it is harder to make friends as an adult, to build new relationships and whatnot without that common congregating at a school or something. But that doesn't mean it's healthy, and it can kind of keep you in a rut. It can just keep you repeating the same patterns and whatnot. Feels like 2, yeah. I want to see going forward. Just going forward. It's time to release negativity. Full moon in Scorpio. Your commitment is being tested. First quarter moon. So this does seem like there is that internal external duality, represented in the sun and the moon presence in the Oracle of the Radiant Sun cards. And the example I mentioned was, a 5-year-long dark night of the soul. Maybe this is a really, really long ordeal that you're going through. And, they say things are darkest before the dawn. They're probably also the most irritating, frustrating, infuriating, other words. And nobody said it would be easy, I'm not saying, beat yourself into the ground, like give yourself a break, because you're going to need that strength to keep going. Like battery management is prudent. But both these cards have a lot of purple in them. So very mental game. And, I mean, what you're dealing with very well may not be a game. But... And actually this came out a lot of red hues. So the root... That could... Spanning from the root to the crown chakra, that could also be just like a full system reboot, body, mind, and spirit. Massive personal change. Strength. Yang moon. So that could go either way. Maybe you are in your yang energy, the animus, and flipping over to yin anima, or vice versa. But that, like, flipping of the coin and individuation. Fulfillment. Saturn in Sagittarius, and it's in reverse. So this feels full circle. Like what I was talking about, that, values changing, not admiring what you once did, just not being fulfilled, maybe, by however your life is currently going, however it was going whenever this started. Looking for new horizons. That is many. Taking the bottom one. Resistance. Taurus, Mercury and Taurus. Another Mercury. A lot of communication. And that would be in any form. That'd be verbal, written. And this could be also how you're talking to yourself, how you're interacting with the different areas of your psyche. Fortune. Sun in Leo. Maybe like the fulfillment being in reverse, and all three of these are in reverse. Oh, that makes more sense now. So the fulfillment and fortune, that's like what you expected to get from this situation, maybe from start to end, from root to crown. This was supposed to be, the love of your life, the marriage, the career, and somewhere along the way, it just wasn't that anymore. And now you're experiencing no resistance to leaving. That's what I'm feeling, is that you're experiencing no resistance to moving on. I'm gonna get one more for the, like, an outcome. So maybe check out where Mercury is in your chart. We all talk about, Mercury going in the microwave, whatnot. But it's got its significance, its archetypal themes. Hermes, if any of the myths involving him are of importance to you. Loss in reverse. Saturn in Pisces, which I think is actually, yeah, the current placement right now. Saturn is retrograde in Pisces. But so this is not loss. So this might be like something really difficult, um, an arduous situation that you know is right to leave. Just not making you happy anymore. It's not jiving with your values, with the growth that you've undergone. But it doesn't mean it'll be like a happy win, you know? It could be bittersweet. It could just be, was it hard fought, hard won, something like that. So heavy energy, but it does feel like a faintly auspicious omen here, in that whatever's going on is leading you to your new book. I was going to say new chapter, but that doesn't feel sufficient, but to a new book in your life. And it feels like it's been a long time coming. And so there may just be no song and dance when it comes to moving on. It might just be kind of quietly into the night. Like, you know, when you're expecting something to, like, knock your socks off or whatnot, and then it doesn't live up to that expectation. Is just kind of like, almost like anticlimactic for all the work that you did, for all the effort, for all the worrying, for all the hemming and hawing, and then it's just over. Maybe like a long time divorce or something, like you sign those papers and it's just like, there's no more appointments on my calendar about this. Like, it's just done. And let your nervous system settle, because that anticlimactic feeling might mean you could still be stuck in like a fight or flight sort of deal. Even if you aren't, rest. Give yourself some time between books. We've got get something special for your pet, like chicken or whatever they eat. You know, if they're a rabbit, get them some spinach or something. And we've got Guerrilla Radio, Rage Against the Machine. That seems a little out of place, actually. Huh. Maybe there will be something unique in there for you. Some sort of like Easter egg, but this just feels... maybe you just need like a dance party, you know, in your home, in your apartment, like whatever, just to blow off some steam while you're going through this, after it's done, but something to get you jumping up and down, get you moving around, and just get out of your feels, you know, because I spend so much time talking about the work when it comes to emotions and the mental stuff and whatnot, and you have to give yourself a break too. So overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.